This interview lasted nearly 75 minutes. This recording has been edited to remove video when Keyes was left alone in the interview room approximately 25 minutes.
Oh, the lawyers got you this.
The lawyers.
Israel, how you doing?
All right.
Hey, Israel, how you doing?
All right.
Well, this is back east in some meetings this
okay.
week, but I figured it'd be a good opportunity to sort of update you on some of the developments in Vermont.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I go through their usual advice and then I'll be first.
All right.
As you know, we're recording things here, so we got the stuff on. I just want to confirm some of the stuff that we talked about at the jail. We didn't interrupt the meeting with your attorneys when we arrived there today, did we?
No.
Okay. And it's your choice to come here as always, and you're here voluntarily, is that correct?
Yes.
And you understand we can't talk about anything that has to do with Samantha Koenig. If we do, or if we start talking about that, we'll have to stop the interview and transport you back to jail. You understand that, right?
Yes.
I'm going to run through your Miranda Rights here real quick. I know we've been through these quite a few times, but we'll run through them again. Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you questions. You have the right to have a lawyer with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before any questioning if you wish. If you decide to answer questions now without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop answering questions at any time. Do you understand these rights as I've explained them to you?
Yes.
Okay. And with this advisement in mind, if you're willing to waive your rights and speak to us today?
Yes.
As you know, you've got standby counsel that's been appointed in this matter. I believe it's Rich Kirtner and Jacqueline Walsh. Do you have any desire to have either one of them present today?
No.
Or any attorney whatsoever?
No.
Have you been taking any medications or any other substances during the last 24 hours?
No.
Are you having any difficulty understanding where you're at, what's going on?
No.
All right, that takes care of things. I'll turn it over to Jared. So I just wanted to update you on where we were and where we are now with the discussion with the state authorities in Vermont. You know, we talked about trying to get that agreement with them.
Right.
And we do have a letter. And I'll show you the letter and give you some time to read it. This letter is dated May 23rd of 2012, which was last Wednesday. But since this point, we've had some opportunity to discuss the contents of the letter with Vermont. They still stand by everything in the letter. And I can certainly share with you emails to that effect. But let me let you read this thing. Obviously, you guys too.
Okay.
So I think pretty good letter. Really?
Yeah, Thomas Esquire.
Thomas Donovan? Goes by TJ.
That was years and years ago.
Really? So anyway, here's my take on the letter.
Okay.
I think it really accomplishes everything that you want and that we want. But as I told you like last week, this isn't a legal document.
Right.
It's not it's not like it creates rights or you can enforce it or anything. But what this is a showing of good faith, by the Vermont authorities. And
Right.
they're basically saying, hey, we're on board as long as Israel is cooperating with you. We agree to do those things, which
Right.
effectively, prevents them from running to the press and charging you under state law, because after all, they know this letter's out here.
Right.
So, it would be political suicide if they tried to do anything with your case without at least consulting with us first. So this is, in my mind, a home run. I remember last time, you said something about showing it to your attorneys. I mean, do you want them to look at this, or do you want to?
If you could forward them, email them a copy of
Sure.
that. Yeah, that would be good, I guess. It seems that the letter is addressed to Kevin Feldes. So, I mean, that makes me feel better. Obviously, it's addressed to me. I can't really put any stock in it, but
Sure.
if it's a communication between the two of them, then that's good. And I also noticed that it's written by the state attorney versus the federal attorney. But you said that the state. Now, so that's the prosecuting attorney for the county or the district.
That's for the state of Vermont.
So she's federal.
No, she's a state prosecutor.
Oh, okay.
So she is under the state's attorney here is T.J. Donovan, and so this is the Chittenden County Prosecutor's Office. They handle all state crimes committed in Chittenden County, which, my understanding, that's where Essex is, right next to
Right.
Portland. So, in terms of the federal prosecutors, they're within the Department of Justice anyway. So, we're on the same team, so to speak, as them.
Right.
It was just a matter of the state and locals. And, I've been emailing back and forth with these people. I can share that with you, some of it, but I just want to make clear, I mean, you certainly, I can email that to your standby counsel, no problem. Are you okay talking about this letter today without them present?
Yeah, I don't mind talking about it. I just wanted to have them review it,
Sure.
get their take on it. I wasn't even going to ask them for their advice, just see what they had to say about it.
It's up to you, unless the letter had
Right.
advice from it, but, like I said, this isn't like a legally binding contract. I don't think
Right.
anybody's going to contend it is. It's basically, just a document that.
It just puts some of the facts on the table.
It puts the facts and their intentions on the table, which is
Right.
really what, it was a huge burden that came off of us last week when we got this. Obviously, because we were telling them you didn't want publicity, you wanted to kind of keep a
Right.
low profile. The incident last Wednesday kind of complicated things for us, because then they were basically wondering, well, does he want no publicity, or it sounds like he does. So that was their perspective on things. So I spent some time chatting with Mary Morrissey, and she's the prosecutor here. And, she copies the Essex Police Chief and the other detective on the case too, on the Courier case. But basically, their request in the email is, they certainly may have other questions about the Courier case.
Okay.
And so they were wondering, hey, would it be okay to conference them in? I said we could talk about that in a conference call tomorrow, as to what kind of questions they had, if there was one that was by you. But basically, after the incident last Wednesday, we were able to kind of go talk to them again and explain. I listened to your conversation with Jeff and Steve on
Okay.
Thursday. It seems clear that you're still on board with this sort of agreement. And
Yes.
I told that to them and say, look, this was just a sort of crime of opportunity, the escape thing. He was serious about cooperating. So I confirmed that to them, and they confirmed today that they are they're still on board. If you want to see that, you don't have to show it if you want.
Sure.
leaves out the bottom, which is my sort of long-winded explanation of what happened.
But it starts at the bottom, right?
Yeah, well, that's the bottom question to her, and she basically says in there, do you need me to send another letter, like an updated date on the letter? I said, I think this email is sufficient.
All right, well, sounds like we're making progress.
I think so. I think this is a great amount of progress for where we are. I think, it's going to help us move the ball forward. Just to sort of reiterate, they basically said and agreed that they know it's important to you to sort of avoid media attention, that you don't want law enforcement identifying you in connection with the courier matter, that they're prepared to do. And they're prepared to continue cooperating. And in exchange, you're agreeing to be truthful about other crimes and other bodies. And in here, they specifically mention the name of the victim in New York.
Right, they want to know.
Yeah. So, as it says, I'm
Kind of close to them.
And I have a conference call tomorrow with them, and I'd like to be able to tell them that you're continuing to cooperate and provide that information.
I do want to continue to cooperate. I'm having some issues as far as this is somewhat of an unrealistic expectation on my part, but I was thinking there might be a way to disclose all this information to you, to the FBI, and to somehow ensure that we could work out some sort of agreement that, I give you all the answers on these cases and families get closure and you find as many of them as possible, and in return for that, I don't plan on being around a whole lot longer, but a really big concern to me is, my kid's going to be around. I don't want her to, type my name in the computer and have it pop up, I already know stuff's going to come up. I know that, but I just try to minimize that at this point, I guess, is what I was hoping to do, and apparently it's going to be really difficult to get that assurance. So I'm trying to, figure out a way we can still do that. I think there is, I have a few ideas on how to work it out, but
What are your ideas?
well, I'm not sure if they're feasible yet. I've been, talking to different people about it, from what can happen from a legal perspective. It's one thing to make assurances, that's great. I mean, we get some of the stuff on the table for now. It helps us deal with the problems for right now, but down the road, that's what I'm concerned about. I'm not going to be around, which is fine. But that doesn't change the fact that just because I'm not connected with it right away, it could happen later. And, so I'm trying to, I guess, maybe cover myself that way as much as possible and still get you what you need.
Yeah. I think sort of the plan I drafted up, this is sort of a good starting point. You're right. No one can guarantee you that you're never going to be connected to some of these things. What we can do to respond to some of this is create this sort of snowball effect of the jurisdiction.
Right.
And we started with Vermont. We know, even though we gave Vermont the information up front, we know it's possible.
Right.
Because we just did it, and it will be we're in a better position in other jurisdictions when we go to them and say, all right, look, we've got Vermont down, we've got a body in New York, either get on board or we're not going to play with you.
Right.
Creates this snowball effect with momentum. No one's going to try to get in the way of that. So, I mean, sort of the plan we sort of lined out for you. It was my hope that that's something we can use as a model. We use Vermont as a model, and now it's certainly working. We're taking a big step in Vermont, saying, all right, you know what? You guys, obviously, it's keys to solving at least the courier's crime, and we're going to defer to Alaska, and we're going to give you what you need. But in return, we're not going to say anything. We're going to keep things under the radar. We're not going to link it publicly. We're not going to make a splash in the media, which I think is, I mean, as far as law enforcement guarantees or assurances, it's as good as it gets.
Right.
And I think, we can do this. We can continue on doing this because, we've been doing a good job in Vermont. Vermont's been doing a great job. And I think, they're aware of New York now too, and that's, quite frankly, what got them over the line.
Right.
Remember we were talking, like, well, give us something to take to Vermont.
Right.
And when we got New York, we went to Vermont and said, because of your cooperation, we got New York. And then that immediately generated this letter of intent. So, but in order to kind of keep, I think, Vermont on board, it certainly would be nice to kind of say, all right, based upon your letter, we also got X, the name of a victim, location of the body. And we already have their assurance about the courier matter. You don't have to worry about what's happening with that, because that's all tied up in this, and you can do the same thing with New York victim.
Right. Where are they at with did they find the bodies yet? Or?
I think it's a football field or the stuff they're going through.
They're making progress, but it's just,
It could still be like a couple weeks or something.
yeah, it definitely.
They're not gonna stop.
This is,
Tenacious.
one of the best analogies I've heard for it is it's more like an archaeological dig than it is just going through and kind of tossing things
Right.
until you find what you think you're looking for.
Yeah, that's a lot of trouble to do. I almost feel guilty. Costing the taxpayers a lot of money to find those. But just kept my mouth shut.
But that's how committed the FBI is.
No, I
They're
understand.
trying to-
They,
This is what
well,
we
it
did.
sounds like they've got it. They've got the area. They just got to find it.
They're very confident of that, and they've been finding things that are in the right time frame and
Right.
that are, from residences and businesses in that immediate area. So they're confident they're in the right area, but as you can imagine, it's something that they're trying to do precisely and
Right.
accurately.
And there hasn't been. I haven't had access to any news stories related to that. I saw the one that you showed me.
That's the
They
last
started
one.
the dig.
I Google it almost every day. There's nothing.
They haven't.
No-
It's kind
no
of
more
a dead
releases.
story of this.
So I think what I heard too is you're wanting to take responsibility. Your plan is to take responsibility if you can figure out how to do this without getting the recognition, which is kind of
Yeah,
what's going on in Vermont.
Right. My concern, the problem is nowadays, the more stuff my name is attached to, the more likely it is that somebody's going to try to do some kind of stupid frickin' TV special, or you know how it is nowadays, like with all this true crime bullshit that people are obsessed with, and that's I'm not even so concerned at this point about because so far I feel like we have been able to work within the guidelines of what we both said we would. But I am concerned about that, about someone connecting the dots on this, and I don't know how, like, I know there's certain privacy laws, but I know that, for the most case, they're not gonna apply to me. And, so I know that, at some point, it's pretty likely that if someone tried hard enough, they could,
Not so much, because we got a couple of things sort of working in our favor on this. One is an ongoing investigation.
Right.
And so that right there is going to limit the amount of information that's going to be released. And two, it's an ongoing federal investigation. And we play by a whole different set of rules than most of the states out there. And so media outlets don't have the same ability to come in and sort of force us, if you will, to disclose information that they might be able to get away with state and local agencies.
Right. Yeah, I can see that they would have more to go up against. But there's also, if I'm dead, then the investigation from the federal government's point of view is pretty much closed.
Not necessarily. I mean, we're gonna do what we need to do to tie up the loose ends. And to the extent that we can do that with your assistance, like we've talked in the past, if we go at this as a team and we have the benefit of your information, it allows us to go hunting with a rifle instead of a shotgun. And there may be things that we wind up having to follow up on down the road when you're no longer in a position to assist us. But
Our idea is to do this with you so that
Yeah.
it's focused, and we won't, and it's not gonna get anywhere near like it is in Vermont, because we've all learned from that
Right.
stuff. But the way to get it like that is for us to have to try and figure it out ourselves, and that's what we would, I mean, and you know that, you know exactly what
Right.
we're faced with and what kind of publicity we're all gonna be faced with, and questions that we're gonna have to answer, and that these other agencies are gonna be asking us, and those are the things that we're trying to avoid, knowing that you're the only one that can help us keep this to as little publicity as possible. It's up to you.
All right, well,
And so that's where we're at with.
And the reality is, if we're not able to do this with your assistance, I can't imagine being able to do this without generating a fair amount of publicity. I just don't think it's possible, because it's going to be too large in scope, and it's going to involve too many jurisdictions and too many agencies.
right.
And I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I know you've got to move along with your investigation. Unfortunately, due to my own actions recently, somewhat complicated matters for me, so, not surprisingly now, there's something else I want out of this. But I don't know if I'm even supposed to talk about that yet, because I haven't even found out, like, what the options are.
Something that you can talk about that's not related to?
No, it's just like the level of restriction they have me on at the jail makes, I mean, namely, like my so-called rec time is now fresh air time, because I go out like this, light irons and stuff. No more running in circles. I guess they figure they make me
Shuffle
fat.
now.
Yeah, they keep me myself and I'll get fat and I won't want to run anymore. But, yeah, I know this, I know that's unrelated to anything we've talked about so far. Obviously, it's a new situation, but it doesn't really change the fact it's an everyday reality for me, so. So I'm trying to figure out what, if any, options there are regarding.
Within the system.
Yeah. Anyway, that, and like I say, I think so far, yeah, things have worked fine. But yeah, I am concerned about, not so much the right here and now publicity. I think we can keep that under wraps to a large extent. I'm more worried, or if it's possible, I intend to do something, take steps to minimize the down the road publicity.
For when?
Right.
Yeah, and,
Because honestly, you guys, I mean, there's nothing, I'm not trying to get anything else out of this at this point. And I did say, I wanted to just get this all cleared up, and that way you're not digging for who knows how many years down the road, trying to connect the dots and just make it all go away. But, But I don't know, I just have to figure out the best way to do that, to make it all go away.
Well,
Just make it all over.
I understand that too, and you've heard me say this many, many times, but at some point in time, your choice may be the reality. Could be that Laney and everybody else knows what you did based on what you said you did, or everybody else, including Laney, gets to see the fiasco and the media frenzy that is created by law enforcement trying to figure out
Right,
what
speculation.
you did, speculating what you did. Because I told you, on the one trip that we looked at, surrounding New York, we have 10 viable, people that are missing that we know of. Those are just the ones that are still reported that way. And so if we have to, and we know you didn't do that, but that's what we're looking at in each one of these
Right.
trips is we're faced with, if you don't tell us, our options are to be public with that agency because we can't ask questions
Right.
and not expect questions in return. And so we're really living up to our end of the bargain, because at this point in an investigation, if you weren't cooperating with us, this would already have been happening, and the media frenzy would be crazy with us trying to figure it out, because we do have enough information on your trips, at least, to do police work.
Right.
Not that we're going to come, like you don't think we're
No,
going to
I-
find
I-
anything out, but
yeah.
we have to try. And so, and I know that's tough for you to think about in the future, is that the reality may be that one's worse than the other, obviously.
Right.
So,
Especially the one in New York. I mean, the only reason we're not just showing you a picture is these guys, the FBI, have been incredibly restrained about asking that part of the country for assistance. Because if they ask that part of the country for assistance, the immediate response is going to be, well, what do you have? What do you have? And so that's the reason we're not sitting here throwing, pictures in front of you and going to you first, because, we understand you're cooperating with us. Vermont understands it, and that's why they're on board. And we just like to continue that effort instead of, having this whole media frenzy too.
Right.
Frankly. And, with respect to Laney, I mean, there is that whole frenzy that's going to be created, if things slow down, I think. We touched on this last time, is that there may be some benefit at the end of this to, the media says that Israel Key has killed 40 people, which, based upon some wild speculation, as opposed to he killed 10, and then also gave closure to those families as his sort of last effort. And I know that doesn't matter to you. It may matter to her.
and we're always going to be bound to not talk about this, just like we are now. And assume you're not going to be telling people details, other people that could, you know what I mean?
What do you mean? Well, I mean, you do press releases all the time.
Yeah, but you know that the details of this, these investigations are right here, right now, and that a lot of these details aren't going to be released.
Well, that is my concern, that, how much, I don't know. I don't know that, because I see, I watch them, there are press releases that are done on other crimes, so.
Press releases, though, are different than what I think you're worried about, and rightly so. Press releases are designed to help us gather additional information. So our release of information, while the investigation is ongoing,
Right.
is limited to the absolute minimum necessary to try and obtain the additional information that we're seeking.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And as long as the investigation is ongoing, we're not going to be throwing out information just for the sake of throwing it out. That's not the way we operate.
Right.
I mean, you've seen specials on the FBI. I mean, come on, everybody talks about our secret files and how we never give up anything, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I say, I wanna have a chance to talk about the letter with some people, and I wanna have a chance to, hear back on the other thing. I'm not gonna hold my breath on that. But I wanna at least see what the options are. Like I say, I would have preferred to wait until they find the bodies in Vermont, but it sounds like that could be a while, so I guess as long as we have that letter from them, then, as soon as I have a chance to look it over, or have other people look it over, then we can move on to the New York trip that, I mean, you guys already have, I'm sure, quite a bit of information on it. Probably have more than I remember at this point, except certain
Yeah,
details.
and we could have those too, and so we're just sort of holding that in abeyance while.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's the only reason. So, just so I'm clear, I can tell Vermont tomorrow in this conference call that you appreciate their letter and you intend to go forward with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's reasonable you want to talk to some people about it.
Yeah, especially on the New York case, because I've already given you so much information on it. It's, we can't really stop on that one now, so.
One thing that might be helpful, and I don't think this is sort of giving away anything, so we just start thinking along those terms. Kevin is back east at the meeting of criminal chiefs, and it certainly would be nice for him to start networking with whatever criminal chief he needs to in terms of the New York category. Now, again, I don't think that gives away anything. You just told us the body is in New York. We want to start striking up relationships with whatever criminal chief he needs to talk to or will need to talk to about the New York thing, because you've already said you're committed.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to give out any more information on it. I mean, I understand his point of view, but it's, like I say, it's still, frankly, that's going to be too much at this point. I don't want to go there yet. Until I find out where I'm at with what we, with the new developments, so.
Okay, what about, and I'm just thinking about his trip, because he'd asked me to ask you these things. Since he's going to be there, he's also with people in Washington. I mean, you've already talked to us about Washington, and these guys have some pictures.
Washington State?
State, yeah. They have some pictures they want to show you about that.
Well, just to let you know that we did.
Oh, I found the boat.
That
It had better days.
cover was a good investment, though.
Really?
Well, it's still on.
Good shape. Yeah. Looks like it's a little leaky at this point.
We're still in his driveway, just sitting there. He hadn't touched it. So.
Yeah, I had big plans for that boat.
The plans to get for the boat.
Oh, I was gonna bring it up here, but bring it up here and put a new motor on it. But, I decided it was time to leave the last one. I probably would have picked it up eventually. Been there for a long time.
Anyway. So the thing about Washington is a little simpler from his perspective. There's only two federal districts there, Eastern and Western. Eastern is more like Tacoma and Yakima. Western is Seattle.
Right.
And Spokane.
Where is
sorry,
the
Spokane.
dividing line? Like,
It's Spokane, Yakima, and then there's Seattle, Tacoma, that's in the Western.
right.
And I think you'd like to be in a position to sort of just chat very briefly with one of those criminal chiefs, if not both, if he needs to sort of lay the foundation.
Well, the problem I have with talking about anything related to Washington is, not playing ball with the right people, because those, I'm almost positive, are not gonna be federal. In case they're not federal cases.
Well, I think Kevin explained to you that.
Like different stuff.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think Kevin explained to you that the jurisdiction that we can exercise is pretty expansive, especially if it's, you know, part of a
Right.
scheme, travel.
No, I understand that, but again, this is gonna be hard to talk about without getting into stuff we're not supposed to talk about, but, depending on things, you know, the way things pan out, you know, things we've already talked about, then, I may need those details, of the Washington case that I would be better served to wait, you know, that's where the route I have to go. You know what I mean?
I think I do. I'm not sure. I mean, I know we talked a little bit about.
Because there's a big difference between state and federal, it seems, and it seems like Washington might be a state that.
But that's something that we can sort of start working on in the background, so you know, not asking that here now today, but that's something that usually does require cooperation between even the federal districts, even if they're state things.
So you're saying there's two
There's two districts in Washington.
Federal districts?
Yeah. So there's two federal districts that would probably just sort of broach with it, one in Spokane and Yakima for the main offices in the one, and then Seattle and Tacoma are the western district. So that's just dividing line, I don't know exactly where it is, but pretty much, Seattle and Tacoma are where most of the crimes are, everything.
Like Ellensburg, or?
Yeah, I think that's Ellensburg is,
Ellensburg is west or east?
no, east. Ellensburg is sort of outside of Yakima.
You're gonna need both districts. Cause I don't, yeah.
Well, it's something, I mean, the good thing about Washington is we have some, pretty good relationships with both U.S. attorneys there, and, both
Yeah,
criminal chiefs. So.
no, I understand what you're saying, but, that was a few years ago, so. But no, it just seems like I might end up having to talk to like state people there. I don't know.
I don't know either, but, I mean, the good thing is the federal people have their counterparts. Like Vermont was pretty connected with the Chittenden County folks.
Right.
We can sort of get them on board, and that makes the transition easier, sort of move forward in their jurisdiction, if that's the way you choose to go. Obviously, everyone would have to be on board anyway.
Right.
So, that's what's useful for him to sort of give them a heads up.
And I think, Frank can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but I think the sooner that they have that opportunity, the less likely you are to kind of get drugged from one jurisdiction to another, because there'll already be things in place.
Yeah. No, my concern at this point is not knowing, like I say, how current things are going to pan out. The information that I still have could come in handy if I need it. And if I give it out now, I don't think I'll need it in that respect, but you never know. I don't know what's gonna happen. And if I give it all out now, particularly, anything about Washington, that could seriously compromise my options, future options.
I think, and I was going to bring that back to me at some point. Obviously, we can take this staggered approach, which I think is probably a good one, to go to different places and we're doing one at a time. But The plan that we propose to you is to do exactly that. So like you sort of do the New York one, we make sure we have everybody on board in the New York one, whatever jurisdictions we need to, get that information agreement in place, and then we can move on to Washington.
Right.
Washington, basically would have the same agreement. And then, it could be an option that you could always use later down the road if you don't like the way things are going. You can ask us to simply say, hey, there's that thing in Washington that I helped you on. Can you, reach out to those people again and see what they're willing to do. So there is that. I mean, I get you if you don't want to kind of, sort of give away cards. But I think the plan that we proposed to you is sort of like a one-at-a-time staggered approach, and we eventually get
Right.
to where we need to be going. And it doesn't like result in this land, just massive.
Yeah, but it is gonna have to be spread out over the next, who knows how long, because I don't plan on, like I say, until certain issues, ongoing issues right now are resolved, I don't plan on giving out all these, but that's just, well, that's not true. I mean, if I get, who knows how, I don't know how long this is gonna take. I don't know, my impression is that there could be a pretty wide range of time frames that could happen, and, but yeah, first and foremost, one step at a time, I've gotta have a chance to tackle, whatever new issues are on the table.
Yeah, we can sort of review that. Obviously, you need to think about this. There's one suggestion in the email about other details in the Courier case that they may want to know about, and they want a conference call in. Now that you have this letter, and how do you feel about that?
With who? Is it with the
It's the
state
local
or-
investigators.
So like the detectives on
Yeah.
the wrong case?
Now, we can do it two ways. I don't know if they're going to have a lot of questions. If they have a few, we can simply ask those and sort of get them the information they need. But
Is it gonna be just like a few people? I mean, you say conference call, is it?
just whoever's on the other line. I don't know who would be on the line, probably just the detective and the prosecutor.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah, I don't know,
Okay.
it seems like it'd be better, I don't have a problem with that, it's just, it seems like it'd be better if there's not a ton of people on the end, since we're still trying to keep it on the down
Yeah.
low.
I mean, it would only be people who were bound by this letter, if it is.
Okay.
People who
Yeah,
just
no,
be.
like I say, I feel like I've already given all the information they need, but if they want more, that's fine.
I think they had some follow-up about what the house looked like and things like that, that they're just dealing with some administrative issues on their end. And they're trying to release the house to the family, and they're trying to get rid of the house, so they're not gonna keep it the way it was, so they want to make sure they document everything that they need to.
Right, okay, yeah.
Even if they have insurance, I don't think it's a problem, but it's up to you. Maybe they don't have much, but I'm gonna talk to you about that tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. And, I could say if you can forward that. I'm actually very sure we'll have a chance to talk to them about it.
Yeah. That's fine.
And there's an issue with the U.S. Marshals, like you said. I don't know if anyone wants to do about that.
Yeah, security is a difficult thing, and it kind of basically tells the mind their own business when it comes to security. So it's, usually that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know, it's a difficult situation, given what happened.
They're responsible for it, they'll get your custody, so they would have been pretty foolish if you got too much farther. So they're probably not gonna, who knows, I doubt they're gonna be open to much of your suggestions, but I don't know.
Not gonna take any of my suggestions?
Yeah,
My suggestions seem to hold less and less water lately.
I'm sure they're very polite about it, though.
Yeah. They all seemed quite highly amused last time I was at the courthouse. Yeah, it definitely seemed to change their protocol for the way they do things. But
Liven things up a little bit. We weren't sure exactly how to deal with this situation with Vermont, given that.
yeah,
So,
that was not well thought out on my part. As soon as these guys mentioned that, I was like, oh shit, one more thing I didn't think of before I did that.
You seem to have a basic plan, but just sort of A to B, and then the C is sort of left out there.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really like a high probability of success there in less circumstances.
No, understood. Understood. Obviously,
Like half the football team of U.S. Marshals came in the door, so.
and then Officer Bell.
Yes. Pretty sure I saw him come in at some point. He's claiming he didn't, but.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about, or questions you have on these other matters?
No, I think I mean, from my perspective, I think the letter's good. But yeah, it's,
From my perspective,
I'm glad they're still willing to work with, on it.
and this is a home run from my perspective. And you certainly check it out. These people are who they say they are, and if you want to make a call to any of these people, I'm sure that they'll take the call and confirm that that's their signature on the letter.
But you did say that everyone on that is with the state, not with
Yes.
the feds.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the feds are already, we've been talking to them from the outset, under the Department of Justice
Right.
anyway, so they have no problem. They just want to.
And the state they're the entity that's more likely to want to release information on them.
Exactly. And I can tell you,
They were the ones responsible for the investigation.
Right. So they're,
and let me share this with you. I think it's kind of important in sort of a model on how to deal with things. I know that, obviously there were reporters that called maybe friends or family members of you. I think what happened in the outset is, like we said, we provided them the information. They didn't know what they were dealing with at first. They had no idea. And I think someone spoke, out of turn, or out of school, whatever you want to call it, maybe one person over there. And now they realized, oh shit, we shouldn't have said what we said, and they basically shut it down. No one can confirm that story. So I think it's incredibly helpful to have this sort of model going forward and be able to tell them, look, we want to limit media attention.
Right.
New York victim. We want to kind of keep things in one jurisdiction. We want FBI to handle it because we're dealing with something that's more than just your jurisdiction.
Right.
Well, they knew that, it was just, Alaska and the couriers, and oh boy, we've got some sort of, we caught ourselves, our suspect. They didn't understand the big picture. And I think that's what happened, because that was obviously a concern to us, so initially
Right.
talking to them, but I think when you get their perspective, I think they realize that, it's something we should be doing, and they realize the severity of it, and now I think we've got a pretty good relationship with them. And, we're happy to talk to them as long as, they're on board, they're, part of the team, and again, we're just building momentum. And the next jurisdiction, we can have Vermont, and they've offered to do that, to say, they'll reach out to the next jurisdiction simply and say, hey, we did this in our jurisdiction, and it worked well, you should too. And this way, we've got the state and local officers reaching out to the other jurisdiction, the state and local is there, and basically telling them this is a good idea. So really, it gets the momentum, and it snowballs, and it can't be stopped, and no one's going to get in the way of it. So I think that's the best way to control, any kind of media attention here, is just the cooperation of law enforcement as a whole.
Right.
I think, we're doing a good job of it.
Right. I mean, at some point though, and I haven't felt like this so far, but I know you guys keep wanting information, and like I've said, I don't want to give out everything all at once, but I just don't want us to get in a situation where, we reach an impasse and you're like, okay, we're gonna go and start doing press releases now or whatever, and then I'm gonna be all pissed off, frankly, and,
Yeah.
you know, and then, so, I mean, that's all I ask. I'm not saying this is gonna remain a compatible relationship, obviously, but, you know, if we can keep it at least an open communication.
Well, and that's why frankly, we came over there today and you told us you weren't in a talkative mood. And we still wanted to bring you over because we still want to keep this,
All right.
this relationship going. You know, we're all getting pressures from the powers to be that control us, our bosses, to
Right.
to get information. You understand that. We all
Yeah.
have jobs to do, and so we just want to keep the
That-
communication open.
I guess that's what I'm saying. I'm not so concerned about the people in this room. I'm concerned about people putting pressure on you to get the answers. I imagine they don't care about my agenda. They want all the answers, like right now, and I understand that, but, I just hope it doesn't come to that. I just hope it doesn't come to like a standoff.
Yeah, I think, this is a business deal. I think, Agent Payne explained it, sort of, it's a business deal. It's kind of strange because, obviously we all have different interests, but that's usually the case in any kind of business deal, is you have stuff that we
Right.
want, and we have, things that we can assure you of that, is of some value to you, I think. And so in any kind of business deal, like I said, negotiations, any good negotiations, everybody walks away from the table, not getting exactly what they want. I think, we've basically been able to manage our supervisors that way by saying, look, he's not gonna give us everything up front, okay? He's not gonna do it. But we're able to kind of say, hey, but he will maybe give us one at a time and draw it out for a period of time to keep sort of the benefit of the bargain for us. And we're not expending man hours and, going through all the press and media and, other local departments. So, yeah, we're not getting exactly what we want, and you're probably not getting exactly what you want. You'd probably like to not give us any of it.
Yeah.
But, it's a business deal, and, we're keeping up our end of it, and I think we can continue to work together
All
as
right.
long as we're reasonable.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I figured that was the case. I just wanted to let you know that's what I was thinking.
But know that when we're doing what we're doing, our responsibilities and talking to you and trying to keep this going, there are lots of other people out there investigating trips and airline tickets and phone logs and things like that, doing what police do, and there's gonna come a point in time where, when that investigation reaches a point where they think they have some information that they need to act on, where that's the timeline we're gonna be pushed up against.
Right, all right.
Having them slow down.
Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, and the only other thing is on a more personal note, like I was saying earlier, my brothers are visiting this week, and honestly, like I say, that whole thing last week I did not plan out very well, but I would prefer to just try not to think about any of this stuff this
So
week
leave you
while
alone.
they're here. It's not that I don't want to, it's just I guess I'm just juggling too many things in my head right now, so yeah, and then that'll give me a chance to, talk to people about that and a couple other concerns I have. And, but for now, I think I'm just glad that they're still going to. I'm just bottom line is I'm glad I didn't hear about it on the news like the whole Vermont. I half expected them to do a press release after that.
Yeah, and I think it's a testament to the sort
I,
of relationships we built over there.
Yeah, so as long as we can, keep that.
So are they in town the whole week?
I think they leave on Sunday or Monday. So.
Yeah, so
The main is, it's not so much that I wouldn't want to, if it's like a short, I don't have a problem, where talking. I just don't want to miss the time that they go over there to visit me or whatever. So.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how, what the times are that they have available, so.
Are they gonna be able to visit you daily,
Yeah, probably, I don't think so.
Yeah, so, I think that's just what I wanted to tell Vermont, because you saw in that email, they said, maybe you have some questions on Thursday or Friday. They've got some urgency about the house, so I don't know if it's...
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to get a schedule about when they're going to come, we don't want to interfere with that, and we don't want to interfere
Well,
with
they're
attorney
Eastern
visits.
time, so if we did it in the morning, that would be fine.
Oh, no, I'm talking about your family coming to
He doesn't know, they don't, you know.
But it may be
they can't
possible, like
schedule it.
later this week, I mean, obviously we would do it tomorrow or the next day, but you can sort of let them know, we can set a meeting for Thursday or Friday.
No, that's what I'm saying, if you wanna do a meeting, I'm just saying morning would
Yeah,
be
sure.
better, like
Eastern time, yeah.
9 or 10 our
Early.
time,
Yeah.
and then that, cause I know there's no visiting over there that early, and then,
Okay.
and then I would, yeah, still be around
Well, that
there.
makes sense, then if we, if they have some follow-up, then.
Yeah, if they have stuff they need to get out of the way, that's.
Do you have a preference, Thursday or Friday?
No, it doesn't. I don't think it matters. Check my day plan.
So you don't get the normal exercise, so they let you have the tennis shoes to torture you that you can't run, or?
Yeah, no, I just started wearing, I don't get to run anymore, so my tennis shoes, I don't lace them up tight anymore, so I just wear, they're slippers now, they're not tennis shoes anymore.
So when you start lacing them up, we should pay attention?
Yeah, if they're too tight for me to slip them on or slip them off, then
Okay, so I'll email that to your attorneys, and maybe we'll speak later this week.
Yeah.
And we'll try to hold off, if we do something, it'll be like Friday morning early, that way we won't interrupt your.
Yeah,
and then-
that's fine.
and then
I would think that would work.
And then maybe by next week, say Tuesday or so, we could
Yeah.
talk again. Okay. Well, and I think, if we're done, well, we could like get him a cigar and let him, since we got you over here.
Awesome.
Wow, a cigar for nothing.
Well,
How was?
I like to think it's a cigar for good faith. But ultimately,
For good health.
yeah.
Ultimately, that's gonna be up to you.
Okay,
No, look, I mean, if we keep working on this.
we're working on our end.
Yeah, we've done just about everything we can do at this stage. Hang on tight, and we'll move it back with you here.
All right.
So, move on. What's that? Oh, yeah, you wanna hit the head first?
Yeah.
Pretty do it, just do it the way they are. or-
Yeah.